Nicholas, and Tony. Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guests. They are both podcast hosts, and the title of their podcast, Beat the Mental Health Out of It, no other than Mr. Nicholas and Tony.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to Book 101, both of you, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, my name is Nick. I go by the Defective Schizoaffective on my social media channels, and I'm a 32-year-old male diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. And this is...
And I am
Mr.
Tony. I'll just say that I actually met Nick through drum lessons. We were both drummers. And then I've progressed along from drumming into music therapy. So that's where the mental health side of this kind of came in for us. I am a 12-year-old person who never wants to act his age. But excited to be here. Thanks for having us on, Dane.
Absolutely.
Mr. Nicholas and Tommy, thank you so much for sharing your podcast to the world. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge about mental health. So tell us, what is a mental health?
Well, I would say mental health to me is basically the stability of the mind, which mine is fairly unstable quite often due to my mental illness. So it is, I that's how I kind of always explained it, would be the stability of the mind and how you process the world and how you cope with your surroundings. It's kind of an all-encompassing thing to me. And due to my mental illness, that often gets very muddied and very complicated. But we all have mental health, all of us being human.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly all deal with mental health and different severities of it, I suppose. But everybody's got mental health problems, and that's exactly what we're trying to destigmatize and share with the world our experiences.
And build either a movement or a community.
I like to call it a movement. Yeah, I like to call it a movement.
How you look at it. But yeah.
Indeed. What would be your short-term and long-term goals as a podcast host of Beat the Mental Health Out of It?
Well, I mean, long-term goals would be just to keep this thing rolling. The idea would be, so far we've had a lot of success, really, especially on the audio streaming, and then trying to boost the YouTube, people watching the videos. But the idea would be, we've had a lot of friends on the show, and we've had a couple of professional friends now that we've had on it. And our goal is just to get more and more individuals feeling comfortable opening up about their stories and their experiences.
So the short-term goal is to really kind of break down some of the anesthetized approach. It doesn't need to be so sterile. The conversation definitely needs to be opened up in a more human forum.
Yeah.
We would very much like to have people who are sometimes intimidated by what they might, read or hear about, decide to join in because it is so everyman language. We're not really trying to go over studies or anything like that. We're really starting the conversation and trying. So the short term is start that conversation, make it safe to talk about. The long term goal is to have that movement or community that people can lean on each other. People can, reach out, because I mean, one of the more controversial episodes was the suicide, and it would be nice to have people feel like there was a place they could just reach out and talk, that it doesn't have to be like the moment you open your mouth, you say the wrong thing to the wrong person,
right?
And now you're, spending a week locked up in a locked facility.
Right.
So
we worked at.
Yes.
Been a part of and worked at. So I've been in one and worked at one, so...
Good luck to your goals and hoping for more and more and more episodes. And let's empower people all over the world. How does mental strength differ from emotional resilience?
I'll let you take that one first.
Okay. So emotional resilience is really more about holding the capacity to handle the emotion and to be able to handle your own emotions as well as other people's emotions. Mental health is going to be more an internal fight, not emotionally based necessarily, but sometimes it's physiological, other times it's chemical. It can even be, that whole nurture piece. If you had a bad childhood or a bad experience, I mean, it can just be the life you've lived. So the mental health piece has more to do with that, whereas, emotional resilience is really building. It's a muscle. Like, you have to build that muscle to be able to handle more and more. Because a lot of people that struggle with mental health, it can very much be easy to become overstimulated. It's easy to become dysregulated emotionally. And then, you're yelling at your best friend or partner or whatever. And it's over what? Not quite sure. So
Yeah.
the emotional resilience piece is that building of that muscle to be able to handle more and more and to be able to communicate more clearly without there being that emotion, that heaviness on top.
Damn, you're good.
Hey, thanks, man.
Very well said, Mr. Tommy. Very well
I'm
said.
gonna get big head with all this clapping, man. Just kidding.
Beautifully articulated. What daily habits contribute the most building mental strength?
Well, personally, I one thing I like to say is on our podcast and out there in the world, it's all about experience. Our experiences. We don't really. I don't talk from a clinical standpoint. So my personal experience as far as what helps me cope with my mental health and build that and maintain it. Obviously, the two of us being drummers, that's the big one. We that is the absolute piece. I often share that there's a state called flow state, and
I was hoping you were gonna.
I always share that the only time I truly feel asymptomatic is when I hit flow state, and the only way I can hit flow state is through drumming. So having both audio hallucinations that are the most dark, depraved, evil things you could ever imagine, on top of having visual hallucinations that I describe as Mortal Kombat fatalities. That's what I see: pale white faceless men, Mortal Kombat fatality level violence, and I see that 24/7. I have my entire life. So there's no break from that. But the power of drumming for me is the only 100% relief I get from that. There's plenty more, but I had to definitely touch on that one because of the importance of that to me. And I know that's a big thing for him too, is drumming. That's how we connected.
And flow is really kind of where he kind of came up with the idea for this whole podcast.
It was the genesis, yeah.
But if people are interested, know that it isn't just drumming.
Yes,
it can be archery, it can be bowling, it can be writing, it can be swimming, anything that you are passionate about, that you pour yourself 100% into.
Creativity is the best therapy.
Creativity, yep.
And process over product is what we always say.
Yes.
So, indeed. And even podcasting, right?
Yeah.
We salute you again. Very well said and empowering answer. How important is self-awareness in fostering a strong mind?
Oof.
You want to do the self-awareness piece?
I'd love to get that one in.
Go for it.
Yeah, so my whole shtick in life, period, and putting myself out there so openly and, without hesitation, without holding back, is all about being self-aware. And the importance of that is you can't really heal or grow or learn to help others or even yourself until you know yourself. Not to go down this rabbit hole, but we've really been exploring the shadow self theory, and it's I think there's really something to that. We even have a whole episode. We haven't aired it yet, but that's a whole episode on that. And that is part of, it's a difficult one to talk about, and it's a difficult one for people to accept. And of course, it is a theory, but I fully buy into it, being from personal experience, because, you know, that is exploring the entirety of your humanity, of who you are. So my thing is the whole person.
Yeah.
So how can you get to understand yourself without addressing every side of you, even the darkest sides? So to me, you have no true organic growth without exploring every aspect of yourself, including that shadow side. So hopefully that answers your question.
Indeed, Mr. Nicholas. And can you be my guest on Music 101? I have another podcast called Music 101. It's created to
Woo.
empower music itself and legendary icon in the music industry.
Amazing.
Will
Oh,
Yes. Please do book another time and
Yeah.
day so that we can talk about music, music, music. How can we refrain negative thoughts to build a more positive mindset?
Frank, you got
nope. Go ahead on this one, because I struggle with that one a lot. And the only reason I'll say just very quickly is because I'm barraged with self-deprecating, negative, commanding, awful voices. That is something that I will continue to work on the rest of my life, but I will let him take the reins on the true answer for that, because being a neurotypical, he might have more to offer on that one.
well, and that's the thing is, reframing itself is a coping strategy, one that we have to work at, and we don't all just show up with that, like I referred to earlier, that muscle fully intact, right? So it really just takes getting rid of some of the self-judgment and understanding that while some of those thoughts are coming from yourself, it's not truly yourself. It gets into a much deeper conversation when you talk about, what's the hardware, what's the software, and who is actually in there. You're talking about, the observer, which is yourself, software being your thoughts, your intellect, right? And then your brain being the hardware that all that runs on. In trying to reframe things, you really have to understand, or at least to break it down to the very first steps, because it is a process. Those very first steps have to be understanding where that thought is coming from. Is it a thought of self, or did it just pop in? Is it one of those things that you've thought so many times that there's such a deep groove in your actual brain that it is the easiest neural pathway? So in trying to reframe that stuff, you really have to break it down to where's it coming from? Is it authentic to who I believe myself to be? And then working on reframing, okay, but if this is the thought that's coming through, what direction do I want to take it? So that's the observer has to make that decision and decide, well, how do I want to manipulate that thought so that I can turn it into a positive? Like I say, it's a step. It's a bunch of steps.
Yeah, it's a
But
process. A process thing. Yeah.
That first piece is really understanding, well, where did it come from? Is it something I actually believe?
And often it isn't. Yeah.
No.
And because of that, Mr. Tom, I'm gonna give you a cheering squad.
Okay.
It's not a club this time, a cheering squad. In what ways does gratitude impact our mental health?
It's a big deal.
Yeah. I'll just say I just wrote a huge post on our
You did.
What is it?
On our Discord. We actually have a Discord. I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, the struggle bus.
We have a Discord called the Struggle Bus.
Yeah.
And we not have a ton of members on there, but certainly have a lot of active members.
And we haven't really had the opportunity to push it out very.
We haven't. I mean, we just started it.
But
because you just did that post.
But on gratitude is one of those things that You were talking about how do we reframe things. Instead of you're looking at those negatives that are coming in, now you start focusing on the positives. Like, what things do I love that are part of my life? And it can be the simplest stuff like, I woke up today.
Yeah.
I took breath. My eggs this morning were awesome. Like, it can be the smallest stuff. And it has less to do with the thing that you're grateful for and more about how often are you exercising that muscle. Because there's tons of studies and it's been shown that if you lean into gratitude, it becomes much easier to spot things you're grateful for without trying to think of it. You start seeing those things, kind of like when somebody brings up, oh, that red truck, and then the next thing you see, there's like 6 red trucks going past you, and you're like, whoa, where'd all these red trucks come from?
You're just aware of it.
It's the awareness, that self-awareness piece
Right.
that you were talking about earlier, which I have to add, in self-awareness, there has to be accountability. So
that's a big
accountable piece, even if you're talking about, the shadow self, you have to take accountability for what's in there. Doesn't mean you have to love it. Doesn't mean that you have to broadcast it to everyone.
No.
But own it and understand that it's a part of you and it may be a weakness inside of you. It doesn't mean that you're less valuable or less lovable or any of that stuff. Everybody has skeletons in the closet, right? Except that they're there. Understand you can only tidy it so much, but you own it. It's in the corner. It's in the back, doesn't have to be out in front. But that is a big part of it.
And I'm glad you said that, because the one thing I just want to add real quick is that I am a huge advocate for accountability.
Yeah.
There's too many people in my life that I know that lean into using their afflictions and ailments, whatever you want to call it, as excuses to do bad things or to take advantage of others or to all the negative things. It's like, I am mentally ill. I'm schizoaffective. I've done some shitty things in my life. I honestly take accountability for all of them. Do I say that I'll never do them again? No, but I think you can attest, and you're very good at it too. You take accountability for what you've done so you can grow. This is all in the umbrella of growth. And you're never going to fully be realize or actualize, is that the term? Yeah. So, it's just a continuing journey through our lives, period.
And if you can accept yourself, it's much easier to accept others too.
Yep.
So, as big an asshole as he can be, I just let him be an asshole. And then, when I'm an asshole, he just lets me be an asshole too. So.
Indeed. You stop complaining and count your blessings. How do you suggest handling self-doubt and imposter syndrome?
Ooh, okay. You want to jump on?
I'll take the self-doubt. You can take imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Self-doubt. So, I struggle with that, and I honestly always have pretty heavy tinges of self-doubt on me all the time that are completely self-imposed. I have nothing but people giving me accolades over what I'm doing, or, promoting what I'm doing, or giving me support and love and all those things. I've had that all my life. So, yes, certainly the negativity from the voices play into that. But I will say that I think, and I lost my train of thought. So one thing you'll find out if you watch the podcast is I'm being with what I have. It's hard for me to keep train of thought. So, self-doubt. So
too many people in there.
Too many people in there talking all the damn time. I wish that was actually not true. But yeah, with self-doubt, it kind of comes from, honestly, just pushing through. It's not something I ignore. Often, that sort of doubt can actually propel me. It's like, go fuck yourself, keep going, kind of thing. And and I'm talking about like the self-doubt part. It's like, get out of here, just keep going. It can be actually a motivation, and often it's not. Often it can knock you down further, but it certainly can often be a motivation.
And if I can throw out the one that stuck with me regarding self-doubt, the phrase was, make sure you have one more pick-me-up than they got knock you down.
Yeah.
And that's really what he was just kind of talking about, is taking that self-doubt and then using it against itself. It's like, oh, no, you don't. No.
Yeah.
I'm going to persevere. And it may continue to knock you down, but as long as you get up, you can still push through.
Yeah.
It's when you let it push you down, that's the thing. You just have to never give in to self-doubt. There are plenty of other things that it's acceptable to give into, but self-doubt is one of those things that it's self-generated. I mean, it's in the name, right? Self-doubt. So pushing through and getting to the other side of it, once you do that a couple of times, I hate to keep going back to.
Well, it's just developing that.
Do I live in the gym or something? We keep talking
Well, look
about
at
muscles.
you. Look at you.
But it again is one of those habits you start, and it just becomes easier and easier to push through the more you've pushed through. So
Yeah.
I think it's labeled as capacity, but I'll stop rambling on that and get to imposter syndrome because I have a great example. One of the things, probably one of the, I would label as one of the highlights of my life was I got to go perform in New York, New Jersey, New York, somewhere up there for Modern Drummer magazine in 2000. They had a contest, and I got to open the whole festival with my drum solo. I'm up there with people I grew up listening to and people that I've idolized, and people that don't even seem human. They're that talented, and I'm sharing a stage with them.
And he's right among them, by the way. He's just
Wow.
as good as them.
You want to talk about imposters? I thought for sure those guys were going to see through every single thing. Was just like, oh, you're imitating that person. You're just stealing that from that person. That's not even any good. Why are you like, all of that was hitting me before. And the thing that kind of got me through was, instead of focusing on that, because that was inundating me. I had met one of my all-time life heroes the night before. A mutual friend had introduced us and said, oh yeah, you should meet so-and-so. He's really good. And my my hero's response, and he's heard this story, my hero's response was, I've met a few. And he was so unimpressed. And
it didn't care.
Oh man, it crushed. It crushed hard.
It still crushes me to hear it.
But it was that morning when I could hear everyone talking out there, like in the venue, whatever it was, several thousand. And just before I went out, I could hear them, and the hush. I was like, wow, okay, they're here to see me. And I love doing this, and I love doing it for them. And it was really just refocusing on that passion. If you have a reason to do something,
don't worry about what anybody else
thinks. Focus on the reason and don't listen to the self-talk, because the reason is what brought you to that moment. Stay in the moment. Don't get sidetracked. Don't let that stuff take over.
Yeah, don't get sidetracked by your own self-doubt or even the judgment of others. It's for you. That is for your benefit. So kind of lean into that.
Yeah, imposter syndrome sucks.
Yeah, that's true. Don't care what people say about you and even yourself. Are there specific books or resources you recommend for developing a stronger mind?
Yeah, the one I avidly have to promote is there's 4 books in the series. It would be the first book was The Masked Rider, and then The Ghost Rider, and then there's 2 others. Good Lord, those are the 2 biggest, but they're books by Neil Peart, the great, may you rest in peace. The phenomenal drummer of Rush,
the Professor.
And I probably don't have time to go into a ton of detail because I know we're getting time. What I will say is he has a ton of tragedy in his life, so far to the point he was going to give up drums, consider taking his own life. I mean, when you hear, so he lost his wife and his daughter in the same year. Daughter to a car wreck, wife basically died of a broken heart, if you can believe it. It's like the elves. So it was he hit such a low that, he was in a world popular band, regarded as one of the greatest drummers of all time. All these amazing things in his life. Of course, I can't imagine losses greater than that. I think we can all agree that's probably the worst losses anybody can have.
That's so close.
But, he goes and, close to home, like literally in your home. So, he goes on these motorcycle treks through Africa, and he finds himself and finds his value and finds his peace. And that's it in a very brief nutshell. But those are incredibly powerful books, and they're great even if you're not a drummer. So don't think that, it's Neil Peart, he's just a drummer. He was so much more than that anyway.
It was life stories.
But it was
life
a life
experience.
story, and that's exactly it. So, but go ahead and.
Oh, my turn. Okay, so for me, the pivotal reading book, because unfortunately I brought two, but I doubt I'll get time to talk about both of them. The very first one is Illusions by Richard Bach. I'm sure you're familiar. That book really, truly opened me up to the idea of being my own Messiah, my own Savior, my own leader, my own home, central, right? So many great, you can quote a ton of things out of there. One of them that I still remember to this day, will never forget is, and here and now I can't remember it. I'm kidding. Don't fight too hard for your, now I did actually forget it being a smart aleck. Don't fight so hard for your deficits, or they might just become yours.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, something along those lines.
That phrase.
But the idea of centralizing your spirituality instead of it being based somewhere else and you have to earn it through this and you have to do this ritual or rite, that one book alone opened me up to Celestine prophecies, Four Agreements, reading all about Taoism, Zen, Buddhism, like getting really deep into Buddhist philosophy and things like that. And it really was mind-altering in that way, because I felt as I took in more and more information from all these different books, it all fed back into that self as savior, because, especially as men, we hear it all the time, no one's coming to save you, save yourself. So the idea that we are our own saviors is very empowering. It doesn't have anything to do with being a man or woman, but truly being a self-sustaining entity that takes care not only of themselves inside, but the world around, because of how much that affects what's inside. So, that Illusions is the big one. Do I have time for a second, real quick?
Yes. Go ahead.
Drummers, New Breed.
Yeah, I concur with that.
It is a drumming book, and I'm sorry, I know that probably doesn't fit with what you normally bring up, but this one book changed the way we learn. The way teachers taught and the way students learn changed it completely. It went from reading only what's on the page to introducing, here's a snippet, now put this with it. Okay, now put this with it. Now put this with it. Now flip it upside down and stick this underneath. And then, so it really became sort of a Lego set for creativity.
And it's the original.
Yeah, there's been a million come out since, but Gary Chester, New Breed, that so much is based on it.
And if I can just tag on to that very quick, it was that very book that taught me how to reach flow state.
And brought all of this.
And brought all this together. So New Breed by Gary Chester. If you're a drummer of honestly any level, it's a pretty easy self-taught book even to work out of. It's great to have an amazing, instructor. But my goodness, that is the gateway to ultimate improvisation, to expression, to exploration, whatever you want to call it.
And just to kind of drive home how important, that I bought that book probably back in the early 90s.
You still have it.
And
I've had to rebuy it like 4 times.
I have had so many copies. But I was just reading from it today. Yeah. I read from it almost every day that I'm out here playing. So, life-altering.
Awesome. Thank you for your recommended book. So before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to all of my podcast people, all of my podcast Abstract Essay in its 5th season, and I'm Abstract Poetry in its 2nd season, Book 101 Review, and 5th season, Comedy 101 in its 2nd season, Food 101 in its 5th season too, Geography 101 in the 2nd season, Love Letters in the 3rd season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101 and Movie 101 Review in the 3rd season, Music 101 as well in the 3rd season, and Science 101, the first season, and Sex 101 in the
Woo!
first season. Please do listen to them, available wherever you listen your podcast. So what your final piece of advice would you give someone struggling to stay mentally strong?
I'll go first. I have this saying that I've created. It's very much based off the "if you don't laugh, you'll cry." This has a curse word in it. So if you need to bleep that, here it comes. It is laughter is the best medication, so let's take our fucking pills.
Yes, indeed.
I like it. We need a t-shirt.
We're working on that.
Okay, so thank you so much for being on the podcast. And Mr. Tom, can you give advice for the final piece?
I really was just gonna circle back to, as long as you got one more pick me up than they got knock you down, you'll always be okay. Just keep persevering.
Mr. Nicholas and Mr. Tom, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. And can you please invite our listeners to support all your activities, most especially your podcast, Beat the Mental Health Out of It?
Absolutely. The podcast, Beat the Mental Health Out of It, is available. The videos are on YouTube, as Daniel was showing. We highly encourage people to watch it on there. That way you get our goofball faces and interactions. And then you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at The Defective Schizo Effective. And you can follow him at Indie Pocket on TikTok and Insta.
Yes, people, let's support both of them because they are empowering the world. So both of you, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.
All right.